Let me ask you something funny. How many consciousnesses are there inside you right now?
Wow. Yeah, this is a very good question. Yeah. Okay, so you know what? Before that, let's summarize then. What are the conditions to have consciousness? What we saw is that in order to have consciousness, first of all, we need a cognitive system that can learn and create all those representations. And then it needs to create a simulation. Okay, so we will have this intrinsic frame of reference. And then we need affective valence as one of the variables in the simulation. And this affective valence will be manifested then as something that is like, as phenomenal property. Okay, so we need a cognitive system that creates simulation, and one of the variables of the simulation is affective valence. Then, any frame... and another one. Oh, of course, I forgot something very, very important, actually. Affective valence tells the system what to do, right? Is it good or bad? And then the system can, let's say, decide what to do. So for that, we are inside the simulation. So in order for that to work, we need to simulate the system itself, not only affective valence. So we simulate all, the outside world. We simulate the system itself.
Okay.
And then we simulate also affective valence, like, is it good or bad for me? So inside the simulation, let's say, inside the simulation, there is an apple. Affective valence gives it a number, very good. And then the cognitive system that is simulated inside the simulation, right, can use it in order to create appropriate outputs. Okay?
Okay.
There is, as we said before, there is like a causal power here. Affective valence actually do something and changes the cognitive system. So the cognitive system must be also, represented, let's say, as a variable in the simulation. Okay, so we have then 4 conditions to have a cognitive system that creates simulation, and inside the simulation we have a variable of cognitive valence, and we have a variable of the cognitive system itself. Okay, then it must be because of relationalism in the frame of reference inside the simulation of the cognitive system. It will have a phenomenal property. What is it like to eat the apple, right? Bad or good?
Okay. Let me see if I got it. Okay, so number 1, you need a simulation, but not just any simulation counts. So you need some other conditions. The simulation needs to assign some loss landscape, some good and bad. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's number 2. Then you need to simulate yourself somehow. Simulate the system. The system needs to simulate its own simulation, or the universe.
No, so it's not infinite recurrent here or something like that. The system. So why do we need to simulate? Why does the system need to simulate itself? Because the simulation tries to catch everything that is out there, right? The cognitive system is part of the world. So if we try to understand the causal relations of the world, we need also to take into account ourselves, to take into account the cognitive system itself. Okay, but we don't need. Okay, but it's not. We don't need it to be very sophisticated. It can be only something that that gets how to say, get information from affective valence. The affective valence, that will say it's good or bad for you, right? And then it needs to decide what to do with that. So this is what is needed to be simulated, as a cognitive system inside, the simulation. The fact that, it's a system that gets the information from affective balance and decides what to do. Okay, that's it. We don't need much more than that.
Okay. So condition 3, which is that it needs to simulate itself, is necessary in order for it to determine actions to take, and the ability to take actions is condition number 4.
So the ability to take actions, you can say, yeah, it's also a condition. Just the thing is that we need causal relations here, right? Causality, this is what will manifest in the end of the day as physical properties, right? So the simulation learns the structure of causality from the outside world. And then we have this affective balance. Is it good or bad for you? And it has causal relations with the system, right? It says, it like dictate the system. Oh, it's good for you, it's bad for you, and then the system can decide what to do. And these decisions are also another causal relations with other properties, other inputs that are outside in the world. Like you take the apple, for example. So you need to take those into account as well, right? You need to take as much causal relations as you can in order to create, a stable simulation, a simulation that always can run, that will never break. This is very important. A simulation needs to never break, to always, that can always run, and then, because of that, you need to take into account, you need, to simulate the system, the cognitive system itself, affective balance itself, how they cause and affect each other, how the cognitive system has causal power on other inputs, right? So all those needs to be part of the simulation.
Now, Nir has how many consciousnesses inside him?
Right. So in order to answer that, we need to check how many simulations my cognitive system can create. If it can create only one simulation with affective balance and with the simulation of itself, then I will have one conscious frame of reference, the frame of this simulated cognitive system. If for some reason we have a couple of those simulations, then I will have couple of consciousnesses. Those experiments with the split brains. It's very interesting, right? In the 50s and 60s, I think Gazinga was the first one that did it. People that had very severe epilepsy, and they cut the corpus callosum, the part that connect the two hemispheres, and then they saw, that most of the activities of those person, most of the activity was okay, but they had some weird consequences. And it seems like each hemisphere has its own consciousness even. It's hard to know if this is the case, of course, but this is how it seems like. One, you can ask the left hemisphere, what does it see? And it will tell you, because the speech areas are in the left hemisphere. And you can ask the right hemisphere that cannot talk, what do you see by, painting, drawing something. And and you can show them different things and they will say different things, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, some people have speech areas in both hemispheres. And then some of those that had this brain split, they can actually ask one ear what you would like to do when you will be when you grow up, and then the same question in the other ear, and each time they will have different answer. So it seems like that maybe the two hemispheres have their own consciousnesses, so each of us has at least two. If it's true, then it means that we need to find, if my theory is correct, then there is two simulations that simulate the actual, simulate the affective balance and the cognitive system, one in left hemisphere and one in the right hemisphere. And if even more, who knows? What I think that it might be that we have a couple of simulations, but all of them are integrated into one big simulation. Because when you think about it, as I said before, the simulation needs to be stable. It cannot be that, it will break for some reason, or, it doesn't know what to do with some kind of inputs. So it needs to be very sophisticated. And we know that in our brain, we have different areas that control different aspects. One area for vision, one area for auditory, and the area for colors, for movement. So then all of them needs to coordinate together in order to create this simulation. So it seems like there will be only one simulation that takes all those areas together to integrate them together, so we can have one good simulation that doesn't break. Maybe two. Maybe each hemisphere can do it by itself. This is something that we need to check. So this is something that actually we can do a prediction here and check if the theory is correct or not, using such, those conditions for consciousness.
The Economist covers math, physics, philosophy, and AI in a manner that shows how different countries perceive developments and how they impact markets. They recently published a piece on China's new neutrino detector. They cover extending life via mitochondrial transplants, creating an entirely new field of medicine. But it's also not just science. They analyze culture, they analyze finance, economics, business, international affairs across every region. I'm particularly liking their new Insider feature. It was just launched this month. It gives me a front row access to The Economist's internal editorial debates, where senior editors argue through the news with world leaders and policymakers in twice weekly long format shows. Basically, an extremely high-quality podcast. Something else you should know about is that if you go to their app, they not only have daily articles, but they also have long-form podcasts with their editors and writers. This is also available online. Whether it's scientific innovation or shifting global politics, The Economist provides comprehensive coverage beyond headlines. As a TOE listener, you get a special discount. Head over to economist.com/TOE to subscribe. That's economist.com/TOE for your discount.